Thank you for joining. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. And our guest today is Miami-Dade Mayor Daniella Levine Cava. Thank you very much for joining us, Mayor.
Always a pleasure, Michael.
And you've been very busy recently with a lot of very passionate things. And the first thing we'd like to talk about is concerning the dogs and cats and people here in Miami-Dade County.
All
So
right.
tell us about what has happened and what is going to happen.
Well, Michael, I am a very big pet lover, like most of our residents, dogs and cats and everything else in between. And certainly we've been experiencing nationwide a challenge as people adopted during the pandemic and are now abandoning pets. Unfortunately, people are leaving them in the wild. And a lot of people also cannot continue to care for them despite having taken them in. So we are over capacity at the shelter. Fortunately, we did have the overflow shelter at Medley. I have visited there personally. I've seen that they are well cared for. They're eager to be adopted, and the public has responded. We are now below the 600. We've gone almost to 700 at one point of dogs, particularly. And so, with everyone's help, we're getting these pets into forever furry homes. We're also increasing the spay neuter and adoption events. We have in our proposed budget, which will be voted on tomorrow, significant increase for those programs plus enhancement. We know that our pets that are at the shelter need more time outdoors, and we've been able to work with not only our volunteers but some experts on how to enhance their playtime and everything we can possibly do. But really, we need the public to step up and help us with these animals that need a loving home.
So part of the thing is we need more people to adopt some pets, and those animals need to be sterilized so they don't reproduce.
Absolutely right.
And how is the county going to increase the number of spay and neuterings? What's the process for that?
Yeah, so it's also a challenge to get veterinarians, but we have some partners that have helped us, particularly on the cat side, and now we have some new partners on the dog side. We have partnerships with the Veterinary Foundation, with a number of the rescue groups, and we are hiring some additional lab techs that will help us go through the process of the spay neuter more quickly and doing more in the field. So not everybody can come down to our central clinic. We're doing more events throughout the county and bringing on pets for these weekend efforts. Um, Basically, an extra set of vets that work extra hours with us to help get the job done.
So we both know very well that public perception about an issue is very important because sometimes something's happening and people don't know and they're still going off some old history instead of what's currently being done in the future. So we wish you lots of good luck with that. I hope the county keeps the residents here informed so they're going to feel better and they're going to know what to do. So my hats off.
Absolutely.
And we've talked to many of the people that work there. They had a show here for quite some time. We welcome that back again. They can bring their little dogs and their little pets, and we've had them, and they've been very friendly. So, and the hats off to the people who are there because we can see that they really care a lot for those critters. Now, one of the other big issues is we used to call it traffic jams and cars and trucks. The issue that I continue to hear is mobility, right? So let's talk about how all the people that have lived here for an old time, all right? How are we to perceive the future of traffic and mobility in Miami-Dade County?
So, absolutely, we have more people in constrained space, more cars. The best solution to traffic is fewer cars on the road. We do not have unlimited space to build more roads. We need to have world class transit. And under my administration, we have been doubling down, and work is finally underway. The South Dade corridor will have bus rapid transit in this coming year. It will be faster, more comfortable, more convenient, will attract more riders. We also have some very important express bus routes on 836 while folks are sitting in traffic to go downtown or along the way. You instead could be riding in comfort in a special dedicated bus lane. It's going from two locations the Dolphin Park and Ride, and the FIU past FIU west of there. So these are very important. We are also improving our entire bus network through the Better Bus Network. It was studied for several years with substantial public input to find the routes that are most used and make those routes have more frequent bus service, with the apps telling you exactly when the bus is coming. We have gotten back to pre-pandemic ridership on our transit system, which is different than other places. So we definitely have recovered, and we're doing more building of homes more densely along these transit corridors that people are flocking to. They are in high demand, and that is giving people more options to utilize public transit as well.
And since we brought up about the South Dade busway, one of the things that people argue about, well, if we had more jobs down here, we wouldn't have to take a bus out of there. What does it look like in the next 5 to 10 years for more job opportunities in the South Dade area?
Yeah, as the former commissioner for District 8, I always made that case, and we supported economic development in South Dade, and definitely new job centers are coming up. But the demand for housing is so great that they are sometimes now converting commercial uh, and retail space into residential. So, if we don't have the jobs, then people are going to have to commute to where the jobs are. Of course, more people are working remotely, and that is a part of the solution. We do encourage hybrid or remote work where possible to avoid traffic congestion. And we have a very significant economic development program. In my administration, we created an Office of Innovation and Economic Development. We're working with the Beacon Council and others on incentives for new jobs and new job centers. And really, we want people to get access to these new economy jobs. They are better paid. They require technological sophistication. We're working with our school system, with the career source, to train up more people and get them into these well-paid jobs.
One of the things that I see the county commission and the mayor's office has to deal with is the rights of commercial property owners to develop, and then the neighbors that live nearby. Not in my backyard, people, and I understand that. It must be tough for the commission and for you to balance out the rights of the property owner and the overall bigger picture, which is how do we move people, how do we house people, and where do we get jobs? So what is that like when you're processing that information?
So there have been some changes in the law to promote greater density. We created a corridor along the transit lines that would be regulated by the county, that it has an upzoning, and the dollars for the incremental value gain go into the transit system. So it's called the Rapid Transit Zone, RTZ. Also, the state created the Live Local Act, which also was designed to preempt local laws, sometimes on zoning, where some municipalities might be reluctant to approve high-rise development. There's a definite downside to preemption, and in this particular case, some of this development is happening without having to pay for the costs of the infrastructure. So the impact fees, whether it's for the roads or the electrical or the sewage or whatever is needed to build up, unfortunately, the municipalities and jurisdictions are not able to collect that money, so they have to find another way to pay for that infrastructure. But we do see some projects coming along that might not have otherwise been allowed to go forward. So it incentivizes where there's at least a 40% concentration of workforce or affordable housing.
So we know that the housing is a very big issue, and the Live Local certainly is controversial, and depending on what side of the coin you're on, matters. Let's talk about protecting our agricultural area, whether it is in horse country where I happen to reside, or down in, if you will, the Redland and the Homestead, not city, but in the Homestead area. How do we balance out, again, the rights of that home, of that property owner, with wanting to keep it that way, and then
Yes.
and then the obligation of the county to be able to look and say, here's what's going to happen in the next 5 years, and if we don't do something, here's where we're going to have a problem. So how do you deal with that?
I'm also a big fan, as you know, Michael, of protecting and preserving our open spaces and our agriculture. We do have the tool of the Urban Development Boundary Line and our Community Development Master Plan that say that we have to build inside the line until we absolutely have nowhere left to grow. And that's part of why laws have changed to allow for greater density and especially along these transit corridors. When we build outside the line where there is no infrastructure, we're creating more traffic. We don't have the roads that can sustain the traffic, the the electricity again, the traffic signals, so many things that are needed. And then we're also destroying not only a valuable industry because agriculture still is very important to our economy, but we're also destroying the peace and harmony of that unique feature of our county that is so appreciated. So we are supporting things like agritourism that allow our farmers to diversify their income streams. We certainly want to help them in every way that we can to make farming affordable and uh, making sure that our specialty crops that are unique to us are able to grow, fighting pests, and so on. So there's a number of ways that we can support. Also policing, because our agricultural areas, unfortunately, are also susceptible to crime, big open areas. So we've increased our police force, what's called the Ag Patrol, to be more vigilant and help those residents and businesses to thrive as well.
I'm glad you brought up the police. So what are we doing to help our first responders, whether they are firemen or policemen or aides and people that work for the police department, to show our appreciation for the hard work that they do every day?
We do have the best police force in the world in Miami-Dade County. They are helping us to reduce crime significantly. There's a huge public trust factor that is very critical to solving crime, preventing crime. We have prevention programs. Our police officers volunteer their time on top of their paid duties to mentor youth and so many different programs. And so we are very, very grateful for the great public safety system that we have. They struggle to make ends meet, just like everyone. And so a big part of our focus on affordable housing is to make sure that our workforce has access. We have 32,000 units of affordable and workforce housing in the pipeline. We have various programs to assist with special assessments that are needed for condominiums. People don't have those savings and they need to make those repairs. We don't want them to lose their homes. So up to $50,000, 30 years, zero interest loans, eviction prevention, an Office of Housing Assistance, subsidies for rent, a whole variety of things. And some buildings, some of the new buildings are setting aside units for particular workforce. So whether it's state attorney or police or medical nurses, making sure that these key essential workers have a place to live.
And I understand here in South Miami, there was a school that hasn't functioned as a school for students. And I understand the school board has decided, I think in cooperation with the county, to turn it into housing for teachers and their families. And it happens to be right down the street from us, so we are forever thankful for that.
That is great. That is great.
And what a great thing to be able to do that. And that's paying special attention to people. And there was a story on some national news, a woman with her master's degree, she couldn't pay her bills. She wound up moving into a trailer with her two kids, and she has her master's and single, and trying to make that work.
But honestly, trailers are a key part of our affordable housing equation, and unfortunately, a lot of those homes are being torn down to make way for higher priced housing. So every little bit of naturally occurring affordable housing, as we call it, is essential to support. And we even have programs to help landlords fix up their rental properties and keep it affordable for many years.
To your point, how people live is going to change. May not be this 5,000 square foot house anymore. Maybe it's going to be the smaller property.
Absolutely, yes, for sure. That is part of the way that we do save money is smaller units, different maybe housing materials that cost less, construction costs not less safe, but maybe a little less luxurious to save on costs.
So a couple things. The county did pass an ordinance not too long ago that essentially said if you live in unincorporated Dade County, you'll be able to put up or use their mother-in-law's quarters in the backyard and have it legally put up, and you'll be able to rent that out. That's the deal with the housing issue.
Yes, so it's called accessory dwelling units, and we do have a lot of large lots that could well accommodate an additional dwelling unit. Many of those have not been permitted, they've not been legal. People sometimes living in shacks that are not really habitable, so they're flying under the radar screen, and our code enforcement people find out about it and then have to cite them, and sometimes they can't, those structures are unsafe. So we want to create a market to build safely and really densify residential areas that will help us as well with the demand.
There's a neighbor of ours here in South Miami. He had a 60-year-old house. He added two 40-foot trailer sheds, and it's attached to the house. I use it to loosely. It's not a shed. It's the all steel thing. And he attached it to the house, and he added 1,600 feet to his house, relatively inexpensive. I might add that he just sold the house and made a lot of money on it, because when you're in it, it's a house. It's just the outside is built a little bit deeper and a little bit different. A couple things. Let's talk about trash and the move by the county to move out some of the septic tanks and make them over back to sewer system.
Right. So as far as garbage goes, we are producing a lot of it. Half of it was being incinerated at our old Covanta plant. Yesterday, the Board of County Commissioners did give authority at my request for us to shut that down because it cannot be rebuilt at any kind of reasonable price point and won't have the same, it would not be able to produce the same amount of incineration as before regardless. So not a good use of our precious insurance dollars that are going to come in. We are proposing instead a campus approach. We have a preferred site, which is in Northwest Dade at the intersection of Chrome and 27. It is the farthest of all the sites we evaluated from residential areas. Nobody wants this kind of thing in their backyard, but truthfully, what we will be building will be modern technology. It will not smell. It will have greatly reduced emissions, and we'll be converting, by the way, the landfill methane, which is very dangerous, into biofuel that we will use for our vehicles. Whatever we do on this new campus will also help us produce energy that we can use for our own vehicles, saving big electricity costs. And we'll be putting out there things that include composting, mulching, anaerobic digestion, gasification, a whole host of approaches that are now being utilized around the world. So we're excited to be able to move forward. We have 3 sites we'll be evaluating. And in the interim, unfortunately, we're going to have to keep trucking our garbage to landfills. And we do have sufficient capacity between county-owned ones and the private facilities we've contracted to maintain the necessary space requirements so that we won't have to have a moratorium on development. That's called concurrency. It's a state requirement. So we have a short-term and a long-term plan. We're moving forward after a great deal of work and study on the part of our Department of Solid Waste Management. So I feel very hopeful about that. As far as septic to sewer, this is critically important. We have 9,000 systems, septic tank systems in the county. Of those, 1,200 have been identified as really important to convert because they're more vulnerable with sea level rise and those septic systems are being inundated. And we've prioritized those. We've been moving forward aggressively with public and private funds. And we're excited. It's called Connect to Protect. And we're rolling it out in various neighborhoods and finding different ways to support homeowners to move to clean sewer.
That is wonderful. I know time is short. I want to thank you, Mayor, for being here for us and sharing your wisdom and for leading the county into the future. And again, thanks very much and have a great day.
Thank you, Michael, and community newspapers.
Thank you.